Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to break down the squat. We're going to start at the very beginning. Like if you're unsure how to just do a really good proper body weight squat, we're going to start there. We're going to look at all kinds of progressions to get you from that point all the way through lots of progressions to, if you want to, how to barbell back squat. Then we're going to take the barbell back squat and we're going to break that lift down. We're going to look at how to set it up, proper techniques, cues, all the things you need to know to nail a really good barbell back squat. Let's go. So we're gonna start at the ground and work our way up, looking at each part of your body and what it should be doing while you are squatting. So let's talk about your feet first. Number one thing I wanna point out is you should be able to feel your full foot on the ground, your whole foot. Think about that cue. Think about a tripod. 3 legs, under the knuckle of your big toe, under the knuckle of your pinky toe. Those are 2 of the legs of the tripod, and then your heel. That's the other leg of the tripod. That is how you want to balance. Practice doing that for a second and just feel your whole foot on the ground, balanced evenly on that tripod foot. Okay, then where should your feet be? Start about shoulder width apart, toes turned slightly out. This is not like the perfect squat stance. People do squat in other stances. There are some people who prefer a narrower squat stance. There are some people who prefer a wider stance. Start here, about shoulder width apart, toes externally rotated just slightly, and we're gonna go from there. From this position then, let's look at what your knees are gonna do. You've probably heard a lot about knees and squatting. You remember back in aerobic classes, everyone would always be yelling like, don't let your knees go over your toes. It's not something you need to worry about. Here's why. Your knees might actually have to go over your toes if you have particularly long legs. It's okay if your knees go over your toes if, and this is important, your heels remain on the ground. So watch this. When you're coming down, if your heels remain on the ground and you're pushing through your heel, your knee is in a nice safe position. If your heels are coming off the ground, you're putting a lot of stress here on the front of your knee. So you can see your knee is over your toe, but it's not the knee coming over the toe that's the problem. It's the fact that your heel is off the ground. So weight back, heels stay on the ground. Now the other thing I want you to think about with regards to your knees is we want your knees to stay out, tracking over your 3rd and 4th toes versus coming in like this. Now, it's rare that you see somebody squatting like this. What I often see is one leg. Somebody has one leg coming in. Okay, you want to pay attention to what your knees are doing. What they should be doing as you squat down and squat back up is coming out here over your 3rd and 4th toes versus coming in. If you notice that they are coming in, first thing to do is just focus on that cue, knees out over your 3rd and 4th toes. Actively practice that. If it's still not quite working, if that's not gelling in your brain, it's still coming in, try getting a small band, this kind of a loop band. Take this band, slide it up over your knees. As you're squatting down, press out against it. That feedback is often enough to help you keep your knees out where they need to be, okay? So give that a try. Let's talk about your hips now. As you go to squat down, you're going to break slightly from the hips. Watch that again. Break slightly from the hips. Watch what I don't want you to do. We're not hinging here. This isn't a hinge movement. There is a slight break from the hips, and then you're gonna think about sitting straight down between your legs. Slight break from your hips, sit straight down between your legs. I say slight because I often see people doing this when they send me videos of how they squat. Do you see that? They're really just hinging and bringing their chest forward. They're not actually getting lower to the ground here. So watch what I want you to do. Slight break, sit down between your legs. Slight break, sit down between your legs. And obviously we want that to be really smooth. I'm just showing it to you disjointed so you can see that break. Slight break, sit down between your toes. All right, let's talk about your core. We want to be very tight in here. We want to brace our cores. To do that, you can take a deep breath in, fill up your belly. Imagine if you took a soda can and you shook it really hard, it would expand all the way around, front, back, and sides. That's what we're looking to do here with your core. It is not sucking in. We're not sucking in. Actually, if you watch somebody who knows what they're doing squat, you will actually see their squat belly. Their belly will stick out in the front. So we're sticking out in the front, out in the back, and on the sides. We're pushing out in all directions. Think about it, what it would feel like if somebody was going to punch you in the gut. Right now, imagine I'm gonna punch you. That bracing you did right there, that's what we want you to do. The other way to think about it is if you were getting ready to poop, that sensation, just don't poop. Don't actually poop. So nice big breath, brace. That's what we want to do with your core. What about your chest? What should your chest be doing? Your chest, you should be keeping it up. Think about, now, you're not gonna be jammed straight upright. We're not squatting like this, okay? There is a slight forward bend. Depending if you get to a barbell, which type of barbell squat you do, you will have more or less forward bend. When we're talking about a body weight squat, there is still some forward lean here. We're not folded in half. We're not rounding over. The cue I like to use is show your nipples to the wall in front of you as you squat down. Then the last thing I want to talk about, coming back to the feet now, is where you're actually going to push through to make this motion happen. You're going to keep that balance on your tripod foot, but think of driving through your heel, okay? Drive through your heel, that's where you're going to get the power from, as you're balanced on that tripod foot. So let's put all of those pieces together now. You can do it with me. Are you ready? Let's do 5 reps of a body weight squat. I'm going to take you through a sample progression that I use with clients to get them from I don't know how to squat to I know how to barbell back squat. Often the first progression I give clients is a squat to box with a reach. This helps people learn to keep their chest up with their nipples to the wall in front of them while sitting down, not back. So you're going to use a weight to counterbalance. This isn't going to be a heavy weight. This is like 2.5 pounds. Get a very light weight. You're going to push out, counterbalancing yourself as you sit down. So it's going to look like this. Okay? Where there's that slight break from the hips, and then sitting straight down between your legs. This is where I would start if you just don't know how to squat, or if your squat, video yourself squatting. Compare it to what I showed you at the beginning. If they don't match up, start with this version and go from there. Try 3 or 4 sets of 5 reps each, doing squat to box with reach. Next up in the squat progression is a goblet squat. What that means is you'll hold a weight here in the heels of your palm, right in front of you, and squat down. This is a goblet squat. This next progression is an offset dumbbell front squat. I really like this variety because you've got to fire your core to keep yourself both in this front loaded position and to keep your hips facing forward instead of cockeyed like this. That's what the offset dumbbell front squat looks like. You can also do this with a kettlebell if that's what you have. After that, we're going to add a second weight and do a double dumbbell front squat. Now at this point, if a person both is interested in learning to barbell squat and has access to a barbell and a squat rack, that is when I would typically take them to that progression. If they either don't have interest or equipment availability, we stick with other variations of dumbbell squats. Now what this can look like is taking some of the squats that I just showed you, like the goblet squat and the offset front squat and the double front squat, and changing up aspects of them, such as the tempo. So we could do a squat, any of those squats, with a slow eccentric. So maybe 1, 2, 3 for the eccentric, which is the lowering portion of a squat. 1, 2, 3. We could add a pause at the bottom. So regular tempo, pause, and come up. It makes it significantly harder to have that pause at the bottom. We could add an extra half rep. So what that would look like would be all the way down, halfway up, all the way down, all the way up. I'll show you that again. 1 and a half. We could also do something called a constant tension squat. And what that means is you don't come up all the way at the top and lock out at the top. So you come down, you come up, and just before you're ready to lock out, you see how my knees and my hips are not locked out, you come back down. So it's like you're moving like a piston, keeping constant tension on your muscles. You could also at this point practice single leg squatting. So here is a single leg box squat variety you can try. Set something up so that it's just below knee height. Then on one leg, this leg you can just bend, put it out straight like that, however you prefer. Squat down and back up. This is a great variety to try, and you can actually work your way up to tackling pistol squats, which I have an entire video on. I'll link that in the description. So let's talk about setting up to barbell back squat. The first thing you want to do is be in a rack. You need to be in a rack to barbell squat because you need to have a way to get that heavy weight into position. So let's talk about where to set the weight up. You want to set the weight, the barbell height, at a height that when you unrack the weight, your full foot can stay on the ground. You don't want it up so high that you're coming up on tippy toes. Even slightly, you don't want your feet up like this. Look, this would be ridiculous, right? But you don't even want to be here. You want to be able to feel your full foot on the ground as you unrack. So set the bar low enough to do that. You will have to duck under the bar to be able to do that. Let me show you what that looks like. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like if I set it up too high. Look at my feet. After you have the bar height set right, we can talk about where to put your safeties. Now these do exactly that. They keep you safe. When you're squatting, if you get down to the bottom of a squat and you can't get back up, these set correctly mean that you can literally lay the bar on them and stand back up without it. It makes it incredibly safe to squat. So that being said, you have to set them at the right height. If you set them up too high, they're going to get in your way while you're trying to squat and you won't be able to get full depth. If you set them up too low, you won't be able to leave the bar on there without literally dropping it several inches to more. So let me show you what it looks like if I fail a squat. I literally just leave it there and I can stand back up. Now I will tell you, if this makes you nervous, you should practice this. I practiced it a lot as I was getting heavier and heavier loads on my back. I started to get nervous about like, what if I can't get up? What if I can't get up? And I said, I'm just gonna practice. So I practiced it with just an empty bar, and then I practiced it with some weight on my back, and then I practiced it with some heavier weight on my back, realizing like, yep, it really does work. If I get down there and I can't get back up, I just leave the bar there and up I go. One other important safety point is the direction you're facing with regards to the squat rack. You want to be facing the hooks. You see these hooks? I don't want to have my back to those hooks. I want to be facing them. And I'm going to show you why. So this is what happens if I am not facing the hooks. Okay? So I'm facing in the same direction as the hooks. I am not facing them. My back is going to be to them. It's fine to get the bar unracked. Okay? And then I walk out. Let's say I just did my squat, and now I'm ready to re-rack this bar. I am now walking backwards with weight on my back, trying to, oh boy, how do I re-rack it? That is not safe. Okay, walking backwards with a heavy weight on your back, attempting to put it into these hooks is extremely hard to do. Always face towards the hooks. Watch what re-racking looks like if you're facing the hooks. Okay, I come out, I do my squat, now I'm ready to go back in. I can look at them and I can just walk straight into them. Now that said, for some demonstration purposes today, I am going to be facing exactly the way I just told you not to, because I want to talk to you about my grip, and you're not going to be able to see anything if I'm facing away from the camera. All right, so when you go to grip the barbell, there's lots of different spots you can grip. You can start shoulder width apart. You can start out even further. You will see a lot of people, particularly power lifters, lifting with a very close grip. I'm gonna show you, this is how I used to lift, with my hands in very tight, getting my arms as close to my body as possible. Getting super tight in my upper back would help me lift more weight. The problem is years of doing that did not add up to a shoulder that felt very good. This was extremely difficult on my shoulder. So I have moved to the opposite extreme. I now lift all the way out here on these rings, out here. You can find any spot in between there that feels good on your shoulders. You can be in close, you can be out wider. If you do have some shoulder irritation, I would suggest going out wider. The other change I have made that has really helped me to not have shoulder pain is to take my thumb and keep it over top of the bar instead of under the bar. This is how most people grip a barbell to squat. Thumb wraps under the bar. I'm gonna come closer and show you what I mean in a second. I take my thumb and wrap it over the bar. And that just allows for some more movement with the rotation that I need in my shoulder. Some more breathing room there. So I'm gonna come closer and show you what I mean. We're gonna pretend this is the barbell. Here is the grip that most people use to squat. Thumb comes under the bar. If you have some shoulder tightness, some shoulder irritation, you want to try the grip that I was just doing, this is what I'm saying. I have my thumb come over top of the bar. Next thing to think about when you're gripping the bar, you want to have your knuckles pointing up towards the ceiling as you're squatting instead of bent back like this. Pretend this is the barbell. Here's your hand gripping. You want to think knuckles facing up towards the ceiling instead of back like this. Here my knuckles are facing the wall behind me and my wrist is bent. Can you see that? So that's the knuckles facing the wall behind me versus knuckles up. Next, we're gonna talk about where to put the bar on your back. I am gonna turn around and have my back facing you so you can see these options. And all of this is correct. There's not a right one here. There's whatever you would like to try, whatever feels good to you. And there's lots of different spots you can put it. There is one spot you should not put it, and we're gonna start with that. You should not have the bar up here on your neck. Okay, this here is not where the bar should be. I'm gonna show you what that looks like. Here. The bar should never be on your neck. Here is one possibility, up on top of your traps. This is a high bar squat. Here, on the backs of your shoulders, on your rear delts, this is a low bar squat. Any spot in there is an okay spot to choose. You can choose the position you feel strongest in. You can spend some time doing high bar squats. Spend 6 to 8 weeks doing some high bar squats. Then spend some time doing a low bar squat. And then do kind of more of a moderate squat in there. I do a moderate low bar squat. I also train high bar squats, but when I'm really trying to lift heaviest, when I compete and those things, I do a low bar squat, but it's a moderate low bar squat. It's not really low. All of them are acceptable positions, except for on your neck. So let's talk about unracking the weight then. Again, I wanna point out, I am facing the wrong direction. Just for filming purposes, you should always be facing towards the hooks. Choose how wide you want your grip. Knuckles are gonna face the ceiling. You're gonna place the bar wherever you would like it in any of those spots. And then I want you to notice, when I pick this bar up, look at my feet. My feet are right next to each other, and I stand up. As opposed to here, look at my one foot back there. I am now, if I try and stand up, and a lot of people do this, they stand up here. You have all of that weight over this one leg. That is not nearly as stable. Here, step one foot up, step the second foot up, both feet under the bar before you unrack. At that point, you are going to take steps backwards, and I am going to turn around for this part. Okay, we're going to step one step back, other step back, and then adjust your feet as needed, 1, 2. What you don't want to do is this. Walking around, stepping out here. You don't want to be messing around, taking a long walk with the bar on your back. you want to minimize the number of steps you take. Ideally, you'll take one step back with your left foot, and you can start with whichever foot, one step back with your right foot, and then if you need to make one adjustment, go ahead and make it. And then you're ready to squat. Now from here, the form, good squat form, is the same as what I taught you at the beginning. We're gonna have the same things as far as you should feel your whole foot on the ground, that tripod foot. As you come up, you should be driving through your heel. You should be keeping your knees out, tracking over your third and fourth toes, not letting them come back in. Remember, you can put that band over top of your knees and practice pressing out against it. You should make a small break from your hips and then stay straight down between your legs. You should have your core braced, like you're getting ready to receive a punch. You should keep your nipples pointing to the wall in front of you. All of those things, just like I showed you with a bodyweight squat and a goblet squat and all of those squat variations. So I'm gonna show what it looks like with the bar on my back, and we're gonna talk through one more thing. A few more things to keep in mind. When I tell you to keep your nipples facing the wall in front of you, I want it to look like this. I don't want it to look like this. Okay? Often if I tell somebody chest up, they do this. And they have this big arch in their back. And we're not looking for that. We're looking to have a neutral spine. Now, when I say neutral spine, it does not mean we're out straight. We have a natural curve in our back. So there will still be a curve. We just don't want to overarch our backs like this. Think about keeping your ribs stacked over your hips. Ribs down, stacked over your hips. The other thing is at the top of the squat, so as I squat down here and come back up, often what you see people do is this at the top. Watch that again. They finish like that. They finish by thrusting through, and what they're doing there is they're really finishing with their lower back. That is not gonna feel good. How you want to finish a squat, you come up to the top, you stand straight up, just like normal, give your glutes a squeeze. Watch that again. Stand straight up like normal, give your glutes a squeeze. Now watch the wrong way one more time to compare. You see that difference? Here's the right way one more time. Up and squeeze. The last thing I want to talk about is how deep do you need to be getting down? You will see people squat to all different depths. Here's the thing. You do not have to go until your butt is touching the ground, unless you want to do the Olympic lifts. If you want to do the Olympic lifts, you will need to get down into a full squat. That is where you will eventually need to get to do those lifts. Otherwise, you do not need to go that deep. We want you to go using the range of motion you have available to you, pain-free. Ideally, that would be till your thighs are parallel to the ground or slightly below. If you want to compete in powerlifting, they're gonna need to be slightly below parallel. What that means is your hip crease will be below your knee. So at the bottom of a squat, for powerlifting, this part of your hip, this crease, needs to be below your knee, very clearly below. Mostly, we want you to be able to squat in a way that feels good and is pain-free. That's really important. So practice, and over time, using lighter weight, you should be able to get to a spot where you are at full depth there at parallel. You will have to be conservative on the weight. If you're struggling with your depth, be conservative on your weight, back up, maybe to even just the bar. Place something behind you, place a step behind you so that you can touch it with your butt, so that you're getting that depth each and every time. So how often should you be squatting, and where should you place it in your training program? It depends obviously on your workout split. Two popular options. Perhaps you're doing a 3-day split, lower, upper, full. You could squat on both the lower body day and the full body day. Another popular option, lower, upper. You could squat on both lower body days. If you're talking about a barbell back squat, that should be one of the first moves of the day. That is one of your heaviest lifts. If you are deadlifting as well, you could deadlift first and then barbell back squat. If you are just back squatting, you could just put that move right there up at the top. Could be the first move of the day. It's definitely gonna wanna be up there in one of your first 2 moves. It's gonna be a heavy lift, which means I don't typically program more than 8 reps of barbell back squats for my clients. 8 reps, 6 reps, 5 reps, 4 reps, 3 reps. That's the rep ranges I typically work in with barbell back squatting. As far as number of sets, 3 sets, 4 sets, that's pretty typical for what I give my clients. You could do 5 sets. I don't do any more usually. I actually very rarely give 5 sets of back squats, usually 3 or 4. With all of the other variety of squats that I showed you with the dumbbells, lots of possibilities there. You can use those in all rep ranges. You can use them in all parts of your training program. You can do heavy sets. You can do sets of 6 or 8 reps, very heavy at the very beginning of your training program. You can do them in more moderate reps, 8 and 10s. In the middle of your training program, you can do high rep squats, 12 and above, towards the end of your training program. They work in all rep ranges. I hope that this has helped and that you're excited and feeling confident about your ability to squat. It is a fantastic move to shape your legs, your quads, your glutes. You can really get a good look, nice and tight and toned doing squats. Of course, that is in combination with your overall nutrition. Sometimes women are hesitant to do squats. They worry it's going to bulk their legs up. I was a person who had legs that felt very bulky to me. They were always like my so-called problem area. I will tell you, years and years of squatting, along with appropriate nutrition, sometimes a deficit, sometimes maintenance, have really shaped my legs. I'm a person who now wears shorts very confidently, where for most of my life I could not. Squatting did not make my legs bigger. Squatting made my legs tighter, more toned, more shapely. So don't be worried about bulking up your legs with squatting.